Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of The Pulse. We missed you last week while we were in, I was going to say sunny and warm Vegas, except for it was cloudy and
It was
cool
not sunny and
Vegas.
warm. Yeah,
It's
they had to
not.
move our party inside because our pool side would have been very wet without any of us
Oh.
going in the pool.
I, do you ever go in the pool at a work conference? I,
I never go in the pool pretty much period because I don't like what I look like and I don't think anybody wants to see that. So, yeah, it's just not a high thing on my list.
All right. Well, nobody came to the webcast to talk about bathing suits. So let's jump into what has changed. So we have a few changes this week, a couple of things. I'll start with what's canceled, and then
Yay.
we will go into development and different things there. So again, just a quick recap for those listening. Canceled means it's no longer on the roadmap. It could mean that they're changing the way they're doing it. It could mean that it's rolling into a different feature, or it could mean that it just didn't work, or that no one liked the feature. It could mean a million different things, but it's no longer in the roadmap on the current form. In development means they're working on it, but nothing has hit anything in first release. Rolling out means that it has started to roll out to first release. So if you're a first release tenant, you're going to start to see it. Now that's going to roll out in waves. So just because you're in first release doesn't mean that you'll have it. It means it's going to roll out in waves, different percentages of users over time. So when it's in rolling out, it means it should be coming soon. Typically, depending on the type of feature, you'll see something in your message center, potentially with the date of when it's coming. Some features will have that, some won't. And then launched means it's out, general availability for anybody, anyone using Office 365. So those are kind of the categories. So the first one we have today is Outlook on the web. So they had one that suggested reply with a meeting. This is in the canceled category. So it just got replaced by another item. And so this was when you're on the web and you get a meeting and you could say, I would actually want to reply to an email with a meeting request instead to make it easier. This is an example of one that it just kind of got rolled into another item. Sometimes they kind of join those guys together. So nothing really major with this one. This is an example of something it didn't really get canceled, just got moved to another item. So nothing really crazy that we need to watch or see there. But now we're going to kind of jump over into the in development category. So Tom, why don't you kick us off and pick off some of those ones there that you like.
So a lot of these are things that they talked about last week at the conference,
Yeah.
and we were like, yay! So
Finally.
yeah, there are a number of these that I'm like really looking forward to seeing these show up. So the first one on the list, and I'll take like the first two here that we have, OneDrive for Business file requests. So they're giving you the ability in OneDrive now to be able to set up a folder in your OneDrive and send a link to everybody that says, I need you to submit your status reports or your proposals or whatever. Use this link, and when they upload it, it will go directly to that folder that the person set up, and it will prepend the person's name onto the onto the file that was uploaded. So it's a really great way to get everybody to put all their stuff in one location where the person doing the work who sent out the invite can go through and find everything without having to go through their mail over and over and over again. So that, I think, is a really cool development. Looking forward to that one.
That's going to
And the
save
other,
so much time for users. I'm
oh
really
yeah,
excited about that one. Really
yeah, I really like that. The other one, which is kind of frickin' awesome,
excited.
and they demoed this, and we're just like, is they're going to be doing differential sync for all file types in OneDrive for Business. So basically, in the demo that they had was quite awesome. He had a 1 gig image, which he opened up hysterically in Paint. And then what he did is he just put a text box on the image and typed in a few words and then hit save. It took like 3 seconds for that to save and sync at a 1 gig file, and it's because it was only updating the part of the file that had that change that he made. Awesome change. It's going to make a big difference in the network usage and how fast things respond for people. Another one that I am really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, totally, totally. The next Two that I have are going to be ones that I think kind of go together. They're around file viewers. So we've got AutoCAD File Previewer. I can tell you how long people have been waiting for this. So those who are AutoCAD users want to be able to preview a file. There's nothing worse than having to download an AutoCAD file or open an AutoCAD file than realizing you don't have the right file, or not knowing if you're pulling the right thing, or just wanting to see something quickly but not being able to. So there will be, I even like how they use the word happy in the roadmap description. They are happy to add AutoCAD to our list of 320 file types. So they're happy to bring us AutoCAD. I'm sure they are. They probably get asked that quite a bit. So the AutoCAD File Previewer is coming there. And then also the 360-degree images preview supporter. So OneDrive, they didn't say they were happy to add that one, but they've added that as well. So now you're going to get that rich text without leaving OneDrive, the rich experience of doing the 360 preview support. Now I know the preview support for the 360-degree images is going to be in OneDrive, but the AutoCAD is said to be in OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. So that's kind of exciting to see those coming. They're constantly adding to that list. And remember, if there's other ones you need to go into user voice in either OneDrive, Teams, or SharePoint and say, I need this file viewer. I'd probably start with OneDrive and say, I need this file viewer, and go do a search first and vote it up if someone else has set it, or go in and add an entry and get your buddies to vote it up if you want other file types there. So those are some other announcements there. And then, Tom, I'll pass it to you to grab another one that you like, and then we'll just keep going back and forth until we get through the list.
It works. So I'll grab three here that are next on our list because they are
kind of go together. Yeah.
But one of these things is not like the other. But anyway, so for PDF annotations using OneDrive or using whiteboards, stuff like that, they are updating the user interface so you'll have more flexibility with how you do your annotations, and it'll be quote-unquote friendlier to use. So they're happy and they're friendly now. But I think that's a good thing, because it's really frustrating when you have a document out there and you want to do a little bit of markup to it, and it's like, nope, can't do that, especially with PDFs. So I think that's a cool thing. Looking forward to that. There's also a new feature coming out for OneDrive called Save for Later. And that's going to allow you to bookmark files and folders that you have in OneDrive. And it says also files shared to you and those in shared libraries. And it will create a Save for Later list that you can go access. So, you know, it's kind of like bookmarking stuff that you need to go back to. And I think that's really useful if you're being inundated with a lot of things that you want to look at or need to look at, being able to bring that a little bit more front and center, which I think is cool. They've also got a popular around me files. And so there's a shared with me view when you're working with like SharePoint or OneDrive. This is actually going to start surfacing personalized recommendations based on the people that are around you that you work with. So it's still, you know, these are things that have been shared with me explicitly, but it's going to be able to use the graph to go through and say, this person worked on this, and this was popular with other people, and I have access to it, and I work with these people, so maybe I need to go out and look at it too. Again, it's not showing you things that you don't have access to. It's all security trimmed, but it's a nice way to have things find you instead of you having to go out and find things that you don't even know exist. So again, another way to start exposing data and bringing things to your attention that you don't currently have. So that's cool.
Awesome. One that I absolutely love, because let's just say I'm guilty of bad behavior, and I'm also very guilty of seeing bad behavior around me. Direct links to individual PowerPoint slides on the web. So let's say that I have a 50 pages or 50 slide deck presentation that I have in PowerPoint, and I need to share slide 17 with people, and I have to send them a link to the deck, and then I have to explain that they need to go to slide 17, and then 22 emails later, am I getting the right slide to them? Well, now I can give them a link directly to slide 17 and send them a link directly to that location. I am super excited about that. No longer will I have to say, let me create a new PowerPoint presentation and just put slide 17 in it and send them that one. I will not have to reduce confusion that way. I will not have to cut and paste. I will just be able to send a link to a single slide. I am super excited about that, and the audience cheered loudly.
Yes, they did.
When that announcement. I mean, when you give us like a productivity tool in like Outlook, PowerPoint, I mean, like the audience roars. I love it. So that one, I had a moment with that one. I was very, very excited about that announcement.
She had to step out for a few minutes, and recompose herself.
It was great. So that one was an exciting one for me. All right, I'll pass back to you, Tom.
Okay. So in Teams, they're doing improved channel file tab experience. So this is nice in the fact that it's going to start treating your Files tab in Teams much more like a SharePoint list or a SharePoint library. So you're going to be able to see more things. You're going to be able to sync more easily. You've got the life cycle signal, like if it's locked or whatever. So you're not going to have to always go view in SharePoint to find this stuff. So I like the fact that they're bringing the additional SharePoint functionality because it's already in SharePoint to begin with. Why don't you give them the power to be able to work with that like they're used to? So that's good. And then on Microsoft Teams, they're also adding per team and cross-team analytics. I think this is really awesome because we have a boss who's like, well, what's the adoption level of such and such? And we're like, I don't know. So we've got 500 of those things, but yeah, I don't know. So this is going to allow you to do things to, get charts of message and active user counts, user type, activity trends. And again, the more information that you have to be able to go out and see how are people using this tool, do I have to make any changes in adoption training based on what we're seeing here? Those are all kind of things that are very valuable, especially when you're in the initial stages of rolling out and you can figure out what your group is actually doing with that. So good stuff.
Yeah, and then I guess the next couple I'll kind of just, the last couple, they're kind of just all going together here. So updates to @mentions in email notifications. So like finally when someone @mentions you in an Office file or a body of an email or something like that, when you get the email about it, they're actually going to include some of the text of the comment so you get some context. So instead of just getting a, hey, we mentioned you over here, they're going to give you some of the comments so you get a little bit more context. So it's going to be more valuable to you so you can know if you need to hop in and look at it right away and different things there. So I'm excited.
Going blind.
Yeah, it gives me, I think it's going to reduce a little bit of noise or at least give me enough information so I know if I can ignore it or keep me from it. Because if you don't give me enough details, I'm probably not going to pay enough attention to it. If it's, especially if I see multiple people copied, I may assume somebody else may pick it up or different things like that. So I'm kind of excited that they're doing that there. And then just some of the other things that I think they're like easeability and making it easier to use on the web, inline translation. So if you have multilingual in your email, it will do inline translation when emails come in, and then read receipts in private chats inside of Teams. You can now see the timestamp from when your peeps start to ignore you and don't respond back. You at least know when they read it.
That one I'm interested to see how it's going to work because I know that I've got, a philosophical issue with people going, hey, I'm going to send a read receipt. It's like, no, you're not. I don't think you need to know when I read this or if I read this. Yeah. I know that they're going to have the ability to be able to turn it off either client or tenant-wide, or you can say, no, I don't want to do this. So while that looks cool, I'm not sure that people are ready to say, I know you sent me a chat, but I want to know if you looked at my chat. And when did you look at my chat? I'm a little on the fence as to how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I guess since I've had the iPhone and we had read receipts and iMessage and stuff like that, I'm kind of used to it, and sometimes it's really great. Like, did my kid read the message that said I'm going to pick him up at 3 o'clock by the stop sign? And is he just not there and he read it, or did he not read it? Because if he didn't read it, then did his phone die? Did something else happen? Right. So kind of it lets me know. Because, sometimes I send chats that just don't need, I'm pinging them on Teams. Sometimes I don't really need a response. So just knowing they read it, that's good enough for me. I know they read it. We're good. I can move on. So I'm not really as afraid of that. I'm not it's fine. Like, you don't always have to respond to me. You could be busy, but at least if I got the message, I'm looking for you. If I've gone 3 days and you're not responding to me, then I could be like, dude, why are you avoiding me?
Exactly.
So I'm not as worried about that. I think it kind of makes sense, but we'll kind of see. It'll be interesting to see how organizations respond if they just go to turn it off right away. But
Exactly.
and then finally in this in development category, I kind of was joking with Tom in our pre-call, and I wanted to like sing "School's Out for Summer" because I think Microsoft Teams in their education suite, like they've got everything here: avatars, grade suite, grade sync, some things, Turnitin integration, and then make code assignments and mobile grading and channel moderation. It seems like they're doing a lot of development for features, and so I'm guessing that's going to be timing a lot with the seasons. We see a lot in the education space that times with that. School's out, summer, we've got all of these different things going, so there's a lot of teams going on with the education space, and I have, as someone that has kiddos in that education space, boy would I love it if they could streamline around a product. And I would love it if it could be Teams, because I think with my kids, we use 6 or 7 different products. Every teacher does something different, and it's a little bit crazy. It'd be great if they could use some of these things and streamline, especially because both schools already have Office 365 licenses, because both kids have access to it and the schools do it. So I'm all for it. I love to see this integration. I think it could really, really impact schools for the better. So I think it's great to see all of this. So if you're in that education space, a ton of stuff going on right now in that education space. And you got to hear me sing. I think we probably have to pay somebody licensing for that, right, Tom? Because I just sang.
I don't think it was close enough that they're going to actually complain.
Right, okay. It wasn't like it was anything great. That was like a karaoke version or something. Right, okay.
Oh, too funny.
All right. That might be the closest I've ever done to karaoke. But did I miss one?
Yeah.
All right, close this out, Tom. Did I miss one?
Yeah, like, have I drunk enough to be able to get up on stage and sing this?
I haven't done any. I have not drank at all. It's the afternoon, Tom. Go ahead.
There's one more in the in development stage, which is an interesting feature. What they're going to do is channel moderation in Microsoft Teams. So what you can do is, if you do moderation for your team channel, you'll be able to give somebody the right to say who can create new posts in the channel, and you can also determine who can actually reply to posts in that channel. My first thought was, well, that sort of destroys the whole teamwork aspect of things. However, if you look at this in conjunction with you can now put 5,000 people in a Teams chat. Okay, now it makes sense that you want to have a channel that possibly is more of a one-to-many and be pushing information. It probably starts to look more like Yammer at that point. But I can see that being something that would be really important, to be able to say, we want to have a lot of information going out, but we don't want to have 600 people going off on different tangents and replies and stuff like that. So interesting feature. I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah, and we do a lot with external. We do a lot of Teams with external users, and I could see in cases like that where we might want external users to be consuming from our channels, but not necessarily posting, in some cases, just in the way that we're communicating with them. Not in all cases, but there could be cases where you want to bring in certain people where they're consuming from your team but not contributing. So I could see where that could come in handy. Awesome. Well, let's move on to kind of the launch. I'll take the first one because it's a good one. Not really.
Yes.
I'll take
Ms.
the first one,
the ambassador coming up here.
And then I will let Tom go for some of the other ones. But rich text formatting in Yammer has launched. So if you want bullets, bold lists, italics for your post and stuff like that, you can now get that for all posts and announcements. So that has fully launched. So if you have Office, it's fully launched. So not first release or anything like that, so that's finally there. So then, Tom, I'll let you go to some of the more exciting ones.
If you're using Yammer, run right out. You can do bullet points now. So we have the...
Y'all are always hating on Yammer. Go ahead.
It's just because we don't use it yet. So Outlook.com beta includes calendar and people, so this is cool in the fact that they're actually doing the calendar UI as part of Outlook.com. So instead of having just mail, in having Calendar live somewhere else. They're going to be integrated much like they are in the Outlook client, so that's cool. They're also having new Office start pages. So when you open it up and it normally says, hey, what template do you want to use, or stuff like that, you're going to be able to see more information for starting with new documents, picking up with recently used ones, finding shared ones to work together with. Again, just making it a little bit easier, more in a collaboration context than you've normally seen.
This
so
is
that's
not
good.
a little bit easier. This is actually useful.
Okay, this is a really useful thing. Jennifer says so.
So I was shocked, right? Like, so I've had this since it came out in first release, and the way that I used to work when I would go into Word is I would always open Word, and then I would immediately have to go in and go File and Open and go look at all of my recents, and that's how I would just navigate with Word. So always it would take 3 or 4 clicks. And now with the new start pages, I just open it and the new start pages work fantastic for me. I don't have to go through all of those other clicks. And so it actually is like an extremely useful tool for me. So it has saved me 3 or 4 clicks, and it's been that across the entire Office suite. And so sometimes you get these little things that I look at it, I'm like, whoop-de-doo, we get a new start page, and then I'm like, holy crap, I actually like find a ton of value in this. And so I'm really excited about it, but it also goes in like so lightly that you don't even really notice, so it's not a super huge change that stresses anybody out or anything like that. But once you kind of get in there, it's like, it's like a changed natural behavior. So I was really like surprisingly excited about the change. I think it's much easier to just naturally start working with.
Okay, yeah, I'll because we're on that 6-month cycle for releases, I probably have not seen that yet. So I'll be interested in seeing when that comes out. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with it now?
Yeah, the next one is index, large list, and complex field type. So this is going to be one of those ones where SharePoint is working behind the scenes to give you indexing. This is not necessarily, when you hear index, don't think search. It's optimizing how it's going to be storing the data so that it can get it back to you faster when you're trying to access the list. So they're always working on ways that when you're putting large lists and large data in there, that they're able to get that for you without you having to do anything with it. So they've launched some new features about that. That one's not that exciting, so I'm going to go ahead and take the next one too. Sorry, Tom.
Well, and you can take the one after that too, because it kind of ties into the one you just
mentioned. Yeah. Enhancement for predictive indexing for lists and libraries. It's the same thing, right? Like, so they're rolling out a change to remove the index creation at 20,000 items. So they want to be able for you to create it on any size. They're trying to remove those higher barriers for you to list limits and stuff like that. They basically want to say when you're putting in something like uber large into SharePoint, we're going to take care of that indexing and that large entry for you, and that indexing and organization and stuff like that, and take care of that on the back end. So those are some of the list management features, the less exciting things about lists and libraries that are coming, but quite honestly, the things that need to be done so we can keep doing all of the exciting things with lists and libraries. So all of that is launched now, which will pave the way for us to keep doing things. So
cool.
Those are there. And then the other one that is exciting, you got an exciting one, I get an exciting one now, Tom, is in SharePoint and Teams, folder and site visibility connected to channels. And so what this means is now when I'm inside of a SharePoint document library, you know how when you create Microsoft Teams and you create a channel, you get a folder that goes into the shared documents library inside of a SharePoint team site. But when you're in the shared document library inside of the SharePoint team site, it's real easy to be like, oh, I don't know what this subfolder is. I think I shall just delete you. And then maybe you don't really know what you're doing. And, you know, by error of just not knowing what you're doing, you could delete a whole folder and oops. And so they're making it a lot easier for you to see what folders in your library actually have an associated Teams channel with it directly from the SharePoint interface. So they're making it very easy to really work anywhere. It doesn't matter if I'm in SharePoint, if I'm from Teams. I almost busted into another song, which would have been karaoke number 2 for the day. So I'm glad I didn't. But, you know, the call is young. Jennifer might still sing to us. But they're making it a lot easier. So visually giving you a cue that lets you know, oh, there's a Teams channel on this, which is actually great because you could say, oh, there could be conversations. There could be something else there I should go look at. And I should also not just delete this.
Right.
So there you go.
So, Jennifer, you have to take the next one because it's news related.
Oh yeah, news! Yay, news! Okay, organizational news support, and that's where you can go in and say, "Hey, SharePoint site, you are an organizational news site," which basically highlights all of the news articles as they roll up with a little color piece based, that matches your theme. So it basically says, I'm important," and then it makes it what they call organizational news, so that it highlights more important news, so it catches people's eyes and they look at it. And so you can go in with PowerShell script and mark a site as an organizational news site, and then it marks it as important.
That makes you happy, doesn't it?
I love SharePoint News, y'all. Love it.
She did an awesome session at SharePoint
fun.
Conference on that. It was really, really good.
It was a lot of fun. It'll change your life, y'all.
Only with y'all, though. You got to get the y'all in there. We've got 3 more items in the launch column, and I'll go ahead and take those because 2 of them are just the mirror image of each other. First one is custom formatting in SharePoint. I'm really glad to see this is finally completely rolled out and in launch status. So it's allowing you to do the custom color formatting, conditional, stuff like that. But what I like is that they've got the pre-built templates out there. So, some people, if they're like, I know what JSON is, and stuff like that. Okay, great, you can go out there and do it yourself and copy scripts and figure it out. But if you take the pre-built templates and put them out there, that's going to make a lot of people a lot more effective in building some really awesome views. And I was at one session at the SharePoint conference that they were talking about view and column formatting. I'm like, oh my God, this is game-changing. So I'm like really looking forward to digging into some of that when I get a chance to breathe here. So the other 2 are mirror images, where one is Microsoft To Do Planner task integration, and the other one is Planner integration with Microsoft To Do. So you can pretty much think of those as combined with each other. But basically what you're allowed to do now is if you have tasks assigned in Planner, they're going to show up in To Do. And I've tried that out. It looks really cool. So once again, they're making To Do the one-stop shop for all your tasks. And one of the things they talked about too at the SharePoint conference is they're also looking at potentially wanting to add external software offerings that have tasks and allow you to integrate those with Microsoft To Do. I'm like, whoa, mind-blowing there. So if you haven't started looking at To Do and you kind of thought, I don't need another to-do list, you kind of really need this one, because this is where Microsoft is really going with a lot of their task management. So, neat stuff. You want to go ahead and start the rolling out stuff?
Yeah, so this one is rolling out, which means you'll start to see it soon in your tenant, like we talked about before. Microsoft Teams, you've got lobby support. So this is one of the things that we had in Skype for Business. So delegate and lobby support for users, which means, like, let's say I'm in a meeting with Tom, I can delegate him to kind of manage my lobby. I can get other people doing different things, and just really lobby management feature options, which are really needed when you start to have large meetings. So that should be rolling out now. We're going to get some more of those features there. And then, Tom, I'll let you take the next one.
Oh, good. This is a really cool one. This was like a big deal last week.
Yeah.
Microsoft Search and their enterprise search is rolling out across basically all the products now. And it's unified to where instead of like in SharePoint, you see the search box over in the little right-hand corner or something, the search box is now going to be in the banner on every single thing. So Word, Excel, SharePoint, OneDrive, it's right up at the top. And when you start to type in something, actually even when you just put your cursor in there, it starts to say, oh, okay, here's news items that meet that. Here are people who meet that. Here are documents that meet that. And it starts to give you much more of that Bing, Google, where you put in a search term and then you can do your I want to see news, I want to see images, I want to see this. And so if you type something in, hit enter, it's a very clean interface that does give you that ability to say, I don't want to just see things across everything all jammed together, but I can say, oh, I want to see sites that have that term, or I want to see documents, or I want to see news items. So it gives you almost one of these, and this is probably weird term to use, but it gives you that consumer grade search experience
Yeah.
that you're used to seeing with Bing and Google. And I think that's going to make a huge difference in terms of being able to have that consistent search look and feel and the breadth of what they're pulling into search across the entire Office 365 product line. Really cool stuff. I was impressed.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where this one goes. I think it's taken a little while for everybody to get caught up, right? Like they had Bing for Business that came out that's had a lot of success and a lot of people using that. But now to imagine that's a big ship to get moving all in one direction and integrate all of those pieces, and then Office 365. And so they had a lot of momentum going with modernization of search, and now it's pulling everything in. And I think we're going to see a lot in this space over the next year. So I'm really excited about it. The next one.
Also, I was going to say, it also seemed like, too, there were doing more work in the back end to the secret sauce of why are you exposing this to me but not to Bob. They're doing a lot more of, well, you work with this person did this over here, therefore this probably is more relevant to you going forward. So I think you're also, on top of having a better search interface, I think you're going to see more different, better search results coming back because they're starting to hook in the AI, the machine learning at a much deeper level now. So that's good too.
Yeah, completely. All right, the next one is Microsoft Teams, a shared link. And so this kind of goes back to I want to do the same thing in every platform kind of the same way. So if I'm in Teams and I have a file and I want to say I need a shareable link from this, I can now do that directly from Teams. So inside of Teams, I can say make a shareable link, and then I can, copy and paste that link. I can set permissions on it, and then I can for files if it's what, because it's shared in SharePoint and OneDrive. And then if I'm doing in a private chat or something like that, I can set the permissions and share them, channel conversations, different things like that. So it's really bringing that same rich using experience or sharing experience that we're already used to in OneDrive and SharePoint, kind of bringing some of those components back into the Teams file experience and just kind of making it the same. So that's kind of rolling out now. So excited to have that there. And then I think our last one, Adam would cover this one if he's here. I miss him.
I will go ahead and stroke my beard here.
He's on his way to London for SharePoint Saturday London. He's missed 2 flights, so he didn't miss them.
Ouch.
The weather kept him from 2 flights. If you're in Texas and the Midwest gets a whole stream of flights and you're trying to get to London, it's really difficult. So he's on his 3rd attempt to get to London now. So he should be getting on a plane any minute now, crossing my fingers for him. But he would typically cover our last one. But Tom, do you want to fill his shoes?
Good chance of that happening. So this is a new setup experience, as they say, rolled out over several weeks. It's going to enable you to do and get more information about your Microsoft 365 environment. So based on the products you purchased, things that you configured, what role you play in the organization, it's going to be able to give you tasks and things that you're supposed to do or things that you have to look at based on all that information instead of just kind of a generic, here's your dashboard, good luck, have fun, don't bother us. So I think that they're making that a little bit more customized and giving you more relevant information specific to what you have and what you do. I think it's a good thing going forward. I'm sure admins will really love this.
Yeah, and I think it's like there's, let's say I'm just pulling numbers here, but let's say there's 10 things inside of the admin center and you guys really only predominantly use 4 of them. It's going to allow you to pin those top 4 to your dashboard and hide the others. That's going to just make it a richer experience for you. And, let's say Microsoft knows from telemetry that there's 10 things and they're going to rank them in the top order that everyone uses, but you're the outlier that uses the least popular one the most. Well, now you can show that one on top versus behind. So they're making it a better, richer experience for all admins and trying to find a way to make it configurable versus pushing their settings on everybody. So it's kind of, we can't, by pushing our settings on everybody, we're managing to please no one. So how can we make it a little bit more configurable in efforts to please everyone? So I'm excited.
One size does not fit all.
Shockingly, in the world of enterprises. All right. Well, this was really cool. I did notice this week it was really government light. So there wasn't a lot said about government in the roadmap. I really didn't see anything government specific. And I didn't, a lot of education hit this week, so I thought that was interesting. But other than that, I think we'll meet again next week and record again. Adam will not be with us next week. He won't be in London next week. He'll be in the Highlands of Scotland. So it's hard to be Adam this week. But anyway, we wish him well on his vacation. We do miss him. We do miss him terribly. But we will be recording again next week. And so from Tom and I, we say goodbye, and we will see you next week, everybody. Thanks.